Hey, and welcome to another episode of Geek Bytes podcast. I'm Ramon Mejia,
I'm Edgar Acosta.
and every podcast we bring you the round of the week's best geek and tech news. We discuss that news, and of course, anything else we're interested in that week.
In Geek News this week, we'll talk about all the Apple and Sony announcements, Doctor Who, a new villain in Spiderman Homecoming, who's playing Deathstroke, and much, much more.
And we're going to begin our show, though, with Geek News.
Hey. Kind of missed it. All right, Apple this week. Apple announced a number of new products while we've been expecting this for months. Here's what they announced: iPhone 7, of course. Hopefully, it doesn't blow up like the Samsung 7. Never mind. The iPhone 7 and 7 Plus has been redesigned. Home button is now force touch sensitive, which will give people a little bit more control of the home screen. The new iPhone is also waterproof and includes a brand new camera that takes DSLR quality photos. The iPhone 7 Plus model comes with a new dual camera that gives the phone better zooming capabilities and depth of field settings. The new dual camera system also includes machine learning to uses machine learning to automate settings like focus, exposure, white balance, tone mapping, noise reduction, and even takes multiple shots and fuses them into one photo. The camera basically ensures you to take a great photo every single time. In a surprising design choice, Apple did not include a headphone jack on the phone. The reason to move on comes down to one word: courage. Apple SVP Phil Schiller explained.
Absolutely. That's definitely the word to describe this. Courage, my friends. That's what they're doing, sure. Now, in other Apple news, we have the Apple Watch Series 2 being finally announced. I think most of the things we're talking about have already been leaked through a variety of sources on the internet, so most of it's not surprising. But the Apple Watch is completely swim-proof, water resistant up to 50 meters. Apple redesigned the speaker system to eject water away from the watch, so that's kind of cool engineering work. The Apple Watch is about 50% faster, better graphics, has a higher display settings. One of the big features of the new Apple Watch, though, is going to be GPS. So this way, it doesn't have to necessarily rely upon your phone's connection for things like GPS, movement tracking, things like that. It can do all that stuff internally now, which is a really big boost for the product being almost independent. It still needs connection for the phone calls, to access the internet, things like that, but this is one thing it doesn't need to send data to and from the phone, which sometimes slows things down and causes problems with things. Also, the new Apple Watch is 35% bigger, so that should give you a slightly better charge. But again, you're also going to have GPS, which is going to drain the battery, so it probably evens out at about that point. Now, one of the bigger announcements for the Apple Watch 2 is, of course, that Pokemon Go is going to be available on it as an app. Niantic announced that its game Pokemon Go is going to go, and it's not just going to be a weird mobile version. It's actually going to be the full game. The UI graphics on the Apple Watch are going to be slightly different than you would see on your phone, which you would hope so, but it's going to be a lot more convenient because now every time your phone gets a notification there's a Pokemon nearby or a gym battle or whatever it is, you just got to look at your watch, and so it feels a little more convenient than just having to take out your phone every single time and hope that the app had stayed up and is tracking your steps as you're moving around. I think this is going to work for a lot more people, but again, you do have to buy a rather expensive accessory, the Apple Watch, to do it this way.
Want me to continue?
Yeah, sure.
All right. More iPhone goodies. Along with the accessories, we got the new headphones called the AirPods. The iPhone 7 Plus will ship it with a pair of Lightning earpods, an example of that connect to the charging port on the bottom of the iPhone. The phones will also ship with a Lightning to headphone jack dongle in the box, making it easier for the retrofit of any 3.5 headphones you're currently using. Apple's AirPods will have 5 hours of charge and carrying case with have 25 hours of charge. You can You can pair the AirPods to your iPhone by simply opening the carrying case. The AirPods cost $159 for buds.
Absolutely. Now, these things are definitely on the expensive side, but they're not so expensive for wireless headphones, like good ones that are going to last you a pretty good time and of being good quality. It's not out of the range of normalcy at this point, but they are more expensive than a pair of earbuds that you can just plug into your phone at this point. And this is a move. A lot of people are reporting the story as the death of headphones and the 3.5 millimeter jack. It's definitely not. I don't see everybody following this trend unless like that's the killer thing that on every review people are saying, oh, I thought I would miss my headphones, but I'm not gonna now that I have these little things that look like tiny penises sticking out of my ears. So you're gonna have to wait and see. I really don't think this is the death of the headphones. It's too convenient, it's too easy, and it's too simple, and it's frankly too inexpensive to not keep around. I do applaud Apple in their forward thinking. At some point, Bluetooth is going to be cheap enough that these things are going to be as inexpensive as regular headphones. And at that point, then take away the headphone jack because it doesn't serve a purpose anymore. But for me, this is not a big selling point.
I'm going to wait till let's go through all this stuff because I'm going to go through each individual thing and not tear it up, but let's just get this
He probably is going to tear it up a
story.
little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, next story is going to be, this was actually a surprise announcement to me. The creator of Mario, Shigeru Miyamoto, was actually on stage at the Apple event. He announced that Mario's coming to the iPhones. That's fun. That's right. Nintendo finally said that they're bringing their Nintendo games to the mobile devices officially. Remember, Pokemon Go is tangentially related to Nintendo. They have something like a 10%, 30% interest in the game, but they don't actually own it. And so this is going to be the first real Mario Nintendo license that's coming to them. It's called Super Mario Run. It runs automatically. It's essentially a runner game. You, as the player, only get to tap on the screen and let Mario jump. When you do it, the harder you or the longer you press your finger to the screen, the higher he jumps. And that's going to be the game, essentially. But it is a first for Nintendo, so I certainly applaud them for finally getting into the mobile world.
All right, Mr. Willard. Let's see. He said, "I love Apple products, but it has but it not having something to wrap around your head to hold them in. I wonder if that will hurt them on sales." I would totally agree with you. That was going to be my thing on it because I seen them, the little dangly things on it, honestly coming down the ears. It reminds me of that scene of Something About Mary with Mr. Ben Stiller having a little jizz hanging off his like earlobe kind of deal. That's what it's just like, dude. You're just gonna swing your head and eventually gonna fly out. For the people that are very active, like gym guys, oh yeah, you want those little rubber suction cup thingies that hold on to them because when you sweat, they'll come off. They'll pop off from doing all your cardio and whatnot. Yeah, it's bound to be lost. I could only imagine how much it'll cost to get replaced. How fragile they're gonna be. The concept is cool and all, but I totally agree. I want something that'll actually wrap and secure. Maybe not the old school like 70s style big earbud kind of thingies, but at least something. Even the little. Have you ever seen those Bluetooth ones that kind of wrap around the neck or whatever? Yeah, I'd be happy with that at least because then I know for sure they're there because unless.
Yeah, I have the Bluetooth headphones, but they're the ones that go over your head with the band and they go over your ears.
Wrap around would have been cool too.
Yeah, I've tried the other ones that just as earbuds that are Bluetooth and they don't have a long enough battery to be useful to me. And this kind of got tangled up, and they were nice, and that I don't have to plug them in anything. I don't have to worry about a cord hanging out and getting tangled and stuff. But I prefer the ones that go over my head.
Remember the first one that came out that was kind of like a mini micro headset that wrapped around, but still would come out a little bit, and you see the little blue light.
Yeah, and like the regular Bluetooth, like speakers that they use for your phones when you're talking, those still exist, and that's kind of what this is without the audio version part.
What was kind of cool is like, have you seen? I just kind of posted on Facebook the. What do you call it? The communication device from Star Trek. That's now a Bluetooth compatible little device on it, so you get mimic being a Starfleet person. But let me go real quick rundown on the stuff because we did talk. Wanted to get more into the iPhones. Yes, I have a family member that's one of those kind of people that's gonna wait till the next thing to come in and get in line, get the upgrades and all that. Like, look at all this stuff that I have. But what do you think? What do you think is missing that you think they should have covered at the iPhone thing? I want to go with VR. I thought they would kind of tap into more VR kind of related stuff.
I was hoping for an augmented reality aspect to the iPhone 7, just because when you think of there are new Android devices that have come out that are actually designed for augmented reality. Like they have multiple section cameras with particular sensors that actually enhance the augmented reality experience. Like they can sense depth in the camera lens. And that's really something that you need for like real augmented reality. Like the augmented reality you see with Pokemon Go is not real augmented reality. They're just kind of overlaying pictures onto other objects. But once those objects can interact on screen with the real, like they can move and hide under tables or jump onto a table on their own, that's real augmented reality. And for that kind of thing, you need the camera to have enough processing power and enough almost intelligence to understand what it's photographing or videotaping and how the characters get interacted with the sense of depth. And maybe that's several generations away from current telephones and cell phones at this point. That's really what I was hoping for. I'm not too disappointed that it's not there. I know that Apple is not a gigantic risk taker for like changing its hardware when its sales are doing pretty good. So, but I was hoping for it.
Yeah, come out with that IVR kind of thing, cash in on it. But there's so many just it's basic stuff. It's still new. The Apple Watch is cool itself. Don't get me wrong, the Pokemon Go thing, I think it was a matter of when it was going to happen. I was hoping for an upgrade, but I'm still waiting for the phone itself to be its own, the watch to be its own phone itself. I'm like, no need to carry it around you're syncing your phone to your watch, so you still have to carry two accessories instead of just keeping it simple. Just keep it one, keep it old school, keep it like the Dick Tracy semi-sci-fi kind of thing. You have it all on your wrist, because honestly, for a majority of the people, unless you're on your phone because unless you're on your phone because a lot of people use it as a tablet, as their laptop, whatever, because they're on their Facebook, they're playing games, they're playing that stuff. That's the majority of the reason. But for the real people, they just need it for phone calls and some of the basic necessities. Just keep it on your wrist. That's all they need.
Now, Daily Willard in the chat room, Matt, saying the iPhone 6 is going to be where it's at. The water and dust proof option on the first Apple is the first Apple that Apple has offered. It's starting at 25 gigabytes. It's going to be the phone of the future. I don't disagree with you. Those are nice features, and I think it's about time that Apple's base model started at something bigger than 16 gigabytes per phone. I've been using Android for a few years, and that's never been like the base model I've chosen. I've always at least had 64 gigabytes base, and then I can put additional memory in there with a little, small SD card up to something like 15 gigabytes. Pretty simply, just like sliding it in and clicking it in.
That easy.
So the memory expansion is something that I think Android has always had a head start on, and they've done a lot better than Apple, in my opinion. But it is good that Apple's really been great at taking the features that other players have found successful and incorporating it into the latest generation. So I think they're really good at doing things like that and making their models awesome.
Okay, my last thing for once again for all the stores is the Mario. Great teaser. To me, I'm considered it as a teaser. It's obviously not Temple Run, but they're showing the graphics quality and everything. I just want Nintendo just come out with an app, pay 99 cents per game or so, especially for the old school games. Add the little controller or whatnot, or if you're not using an existing one that you do. Because honestly, I do the emulator thing. I play the old school games. It's fun. But I just wish Nintendo would make a legit version for themselves and have some extra content on it. And I think that would be amazing. Because there's other emulating apps that you could do that same thing also. But I'd rather want a legit Nintendo version. And that's what I want for at least for the apps in the iPhone world.
Well, I think this is a great start for them. That Apple and Nintendo are finally working together. I think Nintendo's testing its toes into the mobile market. For a long time, they've really wanted mobile gaming to be done on their 3DS, and they wanted people to buy a dedicated hardware system that they make for mobile gaming for Nintendo games. And that works. But in the world where everybody just has their phone and they don't just have a 3DS in other markets outside of Japan, I think this is a smart move for them. And as soon as they announced that they were doing this, their stock shot way up because investors understand that the mobile market is super hot and there's a ton of game money there. And Daily Weird in the chat room says the mini NES with 30 built-in games console come out this October. I was thinking it was a good thing with Atari having already done this. Yeah, and so there's definitely a nostalgia factor for a lot of people in getting a bunch of older games as well on these systems.
There's some older ones that actually, along with the preloaded games, actually have the game slot. So if you happen to have the old school cartridges, you can actually play them as well. But I totally agree with you. There's this awesome other video that we saw. This fan guy 3D printed his own version that's modified. That's an emulator system, and he actually even 3D printed the cartridges, and he could preload them to each one. Especially with technology now, you get amazing. He pretty much printed out the label, printed out the cartridge. Looks like an identical mini system. All runs on his computer. Even has the HDMI connection connected to his television, and play all the games he wants, like almost free. And it's come on like. This new one that's coming out, the 30 one, is cool. It's awesome for the nostalgia factor. I kind of want to get one myself. I think it's running around $60. I think, if you love those games, great. But I just kind of wish they had the whole library, not just those 30.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to move on to our next topic, though, which is the PlayStation announcements. The same day that Apple made its big announcements, Sony was also making a few of its own. The first announcement they made was for the PlayStation 4 Pro. The PlayStation Neo, or the PlayStation 4.0, officially has a title, and it's going to be called the PlayStation 4 Pro. It has a whopping 1 terabyte hard drive. Both the CPU and the GPU have been upgraded. The console is the first from Sony that allows you to play in 4K HDR, and the PlayStation 4 Pro will be available November 10th for $399, although it's a little weird. Apparently, it's going to be able to play 4K video games in HDR, but it won't play 4K Blu-rays, which was kind of the hardware side that they were kind of touting, and that's a Sony thing, so it was a little weird, but hey, that's a choice they made. Maybe it was just a consequence of it being too expensive to kind of, throw into their hardware system and keep it at the price point they wanted.
You think it'd be added on. You think it'd be on top of the line, kind of deal. But my only thing is with the PlayStation system is like any kind of game system. It's all about the games. I want just awesome games on it. I want Capcom games. I want all the old school. And they're slowly doing it, but they haven't done the backwards how do you pronounce it?
Compatibility.
Thank you. For all the old school library ones that they haven't. Everything from PS1 to now, they should be on that system. I don't see why not. Let's see. Continue with the PlayStation related news. The PlayStation Slim also announcing is a slimmer PlayStation 4, which begins shipping September 15th. Inside the console is a virtual identical to the current PS4 with the same ports, capabilities, and 500 gigabytes hard drive. It's just much, much smaller than the PS4. The PS4 Slim, officially called the PS4, is available September 15th and will retail for $299.
This is definitely, it's essentially the PS4 you have now. It's just thinner, slimmer, and I think it's a little less expensive. It's
$100 less than the 4 Pro.
I would personally invest the extra $100 in the improved hardware and graphics capability. I don't think the 4K television thing is going to be that huge initially, just because the 4K television market isn't expansive yet. They're still a little too expensive for the average consumer to have in their home. But if you're rich, if you have the money for it and you have a 4K television, then you definitely want to get the PS4 Pro. I think it's more of along that it's they're sort of trying to future-proof the PS4 at this point, in that they see that it's going to high fidelity television like the 4K television and HDR, and they're just trying to say, if you as a game maker want to support this kind of television and take advantage of it, our console is going to be supportive of it for you. But if you're not, it's not going to be a big deal, because all these other games are still going to play on your regular, 1080p televisions or whatever you have at this point. And Daley Willard in the chat room says the problem is that 4K for TV is still in its baby stage. Computers with 4K are way ahead of the game. 4K TVs won't be the standard for another 5 to 6 years, and by then they will have a new system, and it says to see more. So thanks, Daily. I'm sure you have a lot more to say.
Longer than what you
Yeah.
expected.
So that's absolutely cool. And of course, Yolanda Antiveros.
Hello, Yolanda.
Hey, how you doing, Yolanda? She's saying hello.
All right, and for Daily, I totally agree with you. That's how I always was with any kind of new first generation anything. That's how I was when I had the original PlayStation. Then eventually, when the first PS2 came out, there were some issues with it. They had trouble even reading its own disc for a while. And of course, with any other, there's like with the Xbox, there was the horrible red ring of death for some consoles. There was always any first generation system always has the issues, and that's why I intentionally waited out. Unless you're a diehard fan and you're that one person that needs to get the newest, latest one that's there then and now. Hey, I'm not gonna stop you. I don't care less. But that's why you'll be the guinea pig pretty much. And if you can afford to, hopefully get those warranty systems in case heaven forbid, because I'm kind of the guy that honestly I really don't buy the warranty systems. If heaven forbid it takes a dump on me the next day, that's what the standard store return policy is. I'll stick with that, anywhere from 30 to, if you're lucky, 90 days, and by that time everything should be cool. But unless you're that guy that on the 91st day, then it takes a dump and then you're pretty much shit out of luck, and maybe you could sell it for spare parts or something. But I'm gonna let it ride, let it play out, and yeah, I would probably cough up the extra $100 myself for the memory and the upgrades and all that. But even though I'm not a 4K television person myself, I still want to play Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's going to come on eventually at some point, guys. We're going to move on to our next story, though. It's going to be one of the games they showed off for Sony to play, to kind of show off what the 4K aspect is going to look like if the game developer supports it, if they've made their game with that in mind. It's going to look a lot better, obviously. And the first one is going to be, of course, Mass Effect Andromeda. That should show some gameplay footage off during the conference for what it's going to look like. And they actually recommend in the video that you watch it on a 4K television, because that's what they recorded it in. And that's what they meant for this game to be played on in its in the best possible way, unfortunately. Now, if you're watching this recorded broadcast, we have actually a little bit of a little clip playing where you can see it happening, where we're playing it there.
That's just us.
That's just us right there now. But again, this is not something it's going to be particularly awesome for you, because again, it's not 4K on either this or on your screen or on your television in general. So it's one of those things that we're sure it's extra super pretty.
Just slide it across.
Extra super pretty.
There you go.
But it's not something you can appreciate unless you have a 4K television. And again, that issue props up again that most people just don't have it.
So it looks good. It's awesome. I was waiting, to be honest, to hear more of the Sony VR stuff. I was waiting for more games related to it, more exclusive content, like that awesome. I don't know if they showed any video, but remember that teaser they had of the Batman VR? I want to know what was all that about. I kind of wish they showed more stuff about that. Blessed be you, sir.
Thank you very much. I am certainly blessed at this point. And again, but the footage for the game looked amazing. I loved it absolutely. I love all the Mass Effect games. They're amazing to me. I love them, and I love to see that this new one is coming out. And they didn't say when it was coming out, but I'm definitely looking forward to purchasing it.
Once again, for me, at least for the PlayStation world, because they seem to have certain exclusives on their part. Would love to see more God of War stuff, Capcom games. Konami's pretty fun too, but also like Marvel titles. Love the Marvel titles. Kingdom Hearts, once again, wanted to check out more Kingdom Hearts action. I think it'd be amazing to see, but I can't wait till they come out. What about you guys? Is there a certain game or franchise or anything that you like to play, see, especially for the PlayStation system? There's been certain games that they would have exclusives for like each console. Remember, what was it? Soul Blade? Is it Soul Blade?
Yep, could be Soul Blade.
Soul Blade is the one that probably had like a. I remember they had the 3 Star Wars exclusive characters. I think Nintendo had like Yoda. Xbox had the Vader. I forgot what the PlayStation had, but they did the same thing when they had other exclusive characters where they had like Kratos. Kratos, of course, for PlayStation. They had Link for Nintendo. And God, I can't think of the other one.
Yeah, so those console exclusive titles were always amazing. So I definitely appreciate that those things happened. And Hopefully, PlayStation 4 Pro is going to have some nice exclusive titles. But at this point, Mass Effect was kind of the only thing that they announced was going to take advantage of that 4K possibility. But for me, they also emphasize that on the PlayStation 4 Pro, VR is going to be better. And that's just a consequence of a better CPU, better GPU, and of course that better hard drive. So if you're going to get the PlayStation VR, I definitely recommend you also getting the PlayStation 4 Pro as well, which I might end up doing. But moving on to our next story.
Pokemon Go accessory available September 16th. Pokemon Go Plus is a Bluetooth-enabled device that lets you enjoy Pokemon Go, doing a basic in-game activities like collect Pokeballs and capture Pokemon without having to get out your phone. The accessory is supposed to be out in July, but was delayed until September 16th. So it looks like a Pokemon ball shaped pedometer, just about that. It goes on your wrist. But
Sort of. It's one of those things that it's supposed to kind of take, like the Apple Watch is going to make the game a little more user friendly. You don't have to have your phone out in your hand all the time. This accessory is also supposed to, I believe it's going to be like $35. It was delayed for a while. It was supposed to come out when the game came out initially, but there were just some issues.
Of course. Hopefully they catch on, because remember we did that story that it seemed like Pokemon Go was kind of dying out.
I don't know that 30. I don't know that 30 million people using it daily is going to be considered dying out.
I don't know, man.
You dropped by 10 or 15 million people, sure, but there's still 30 million people playing it on a very everyday basis.
With all these accessories, it's going to make it awesome. But once they release, say, the next wave of Pokemon characters, oh yeah, people are going to just hop on right back on board. And I can't wait for those upgrades. Remember those little teaser ones that allow you to, to battle a person right in front of you, allowing to trade? I'm waiting for all those upgrades to happen. Cause
people are hypothesizing that the next update to the game is going to allow you to have a Pokemon out of like a Pokeball like Pikachu was in the original Pokemon television show. And as you're walking, they get stronger.
Oh.
So the more you walk, instead of like also hatching eggs, you can also have one Pokemon out that's going to be your companion. And as you're walking, they're going to gain strength and become and increase levels that way. That way you can't overpower everybody unless you're, going miles and miles and miles around. So this is one of those odd games that has to balance between making the game more fun, but also still incorporating that walking around, getting out of the house kind of aspect to it. So it's interesting to see how they're going to use and improve both those aspects.
And eventually you're going to see some more cheater methods on it, like those Pokemon Go hacks.
Yeah, because they were so banning those people. It's most like real gamers are like, it's not worth it for me to play around with that because I enjoy my game so much I don't want to get banned. And Danny Martinez is saying he still sees Pokemon people playing Pokemon around. And I'm one of those people still. I'm not like super engaged where I have to play it every single moment, but as I'm walking around work, on campus, I'll stop by a Pokestop or just keep it on so like I can hatch an egg or two as I'm working.
Hopefully I don't see more videos of people attaching Pokemon their phones to the ceiling fans and spinning them around and whatnot. It's just like
those phones go through a wall or something. Learn the hard way. Our next story is going to incorporate our good friend Doctor Who. Peter Capaldi is the latest Doctor, and while they were filming in London, he answered some fan questions about when this series should be reshown, and so he inadvertently kind of spoiled when the release to it. It hasn't been officially released from the BBC, and apparently Doctor Who is going to reappear the next season on April of 2017. And Peter Capaldi said that there's going to be the Christmas special, and then in December, and then the full season's coming out in April. And it was really interesting to see how open he was with the fans. And I'm not sure if he realized he was being recorded like on Snapchat or something, or for Instagram, but it blew up on the internet. So if you're a Doctor Who fan, this is definitely a thing that you're going to be enjoy looking forward to.
Okay, how many of you guys are actually Whovians? Because honestly, I'm not in a bad way. I'm not anti Doctor Who. It was just something I didn't get into. It was like one of those things like I had to learn about, to be honest. I did watch the original first Doctor Who, black and white. It looked like I think it took place around the 60s, if not maybe the 70s. It was interesting, I could tell you that, but it gets better. It definitely gets better because I saw a couple semi-current episodes with Mr. Ramon here, and it's good. it's good. I'm on, like, once again, I'm not a Who fanatic. I'm not gonna be painting any of my doors to look like the TARDIS or anything, or recreate one myself. But it's for some people.
Yeah, I know he's not a Super Who fan, but if you are, awesome. Yolanda says the original was cool. Danny says meh. He just didn't watch. The Flash got him though, so yeah, The Flash is a great series as well.
Yeah.
If you're into sci-fi television, those are two great options for you as well. For me, Doctor Who, Matt Smith was definitely the Doctor that was nearest and dearest to my heart. He was just like the goofy, kid-friendly version, but he still had like this angry, serious side. And if you don't know who that is, it's cool. I understand. We can still be friends. Okay. But it's exciting for this. But I thought our next story is going to be super exciting for you if you're a Spider-Man fan.
Totally. I'm so happy. And, this is me being geeky, going to pick on some things, but let me get through this. Shocker. Yeah. The Shocker appears on the set of Spider-Man Homecoming. This week's photos of the electricity-wielding villain Shocker on the set of the movie Spider-Man Homecoming have leaked. It has already been confirmed that the villains, the Vulture and the Tinkerer, already have going in to be in the film. Does this mean that there is going to be a Sinister Six type of villain gang that our friendly neighborhood Spider is going to have to fight in the film? Or is this just a case of the movie curse of more villains, worse movie? Now, that kind of sucks to hear, but seriously, Shocker. Oh, my God, Shocker. He's so awesome. I wasn't sure how they were going to dress him up. He looks very not military-esque kind of thing, but like I wish they kind of showed his gauntlet things, because those were the main things to me that looked really badass for the Shocker. I was always not really crazy about his yellow fishnet looking kind of thing in the comic books and whatever. That's why I wasn't sure how they were going to transition him. So he looks basic. I don't think he's going to be a mainline character. He's not going to be the main guy like final fight kind of climactic moment in the film. Hopefully they don't do to him though the way they did Rhino in that Garfield version of Spider-Man, where it was like it was the Rhino guy, but he was in a Rhino-esque armor mech type of a suit kind
they
of thing.
They didn't mechanize him, yeah.
Exactly.
These pictures of the Shocker are very reminiscent of the very early photos of Spider-Man in his new homemade costume. It felt very much like, this is something we make our own. This Shocker costume has the same effect. I'm hypothesizing entirely here, but I think that Shocker is going to be a villain from the high school where Peter Parker is, and he's going to get superpowers very similar to how Peter Parker gets superpowers, and it's going to be his first villain, like real supervillain that he has to fight and take down. That's what I'm hypothesizing, and then maybe you're going to get the bigger villains like the Vulture and the Tinkerer coming, or maybe the Tinkerer is the one who's going to make the Shocker's electrocution technology powers, and that's how they're going to incorporate him in there as well. But it's interesting to see where this is going to go, because they're billing it as almost a teen kind of movie, like 16 Candles, or is it John Hughes or John Ford? One of those guys who make those movies, in that it's going to be more of a teeny bopper, teeny high school thing, kind of movie, with superpowers and supervillains.
Yeah. So the thing you see looks real cool. With me in the comics and even the cartoons, Shocker was always kind of like the goon, even though he was pretty badass with his ability. It's almost I wish they kind of upgraded him the way they did with Crossbones in the Captain America movie. He was really awesome. Let's see, Mr. Danny Martinez says, is Venom coming out again or Carnage? There's stories, the rumor of being a standalone Venom movie and possibly working Carnage into it, which I'm hoping, because Carnage is always awesome. Venom is always awesome. Just hopefully they don't go with the what's his name? God, that 70s show skinny dude.
Oh yeah, the Tommy Wiseau. Yeah, come on again, yeah.
Fuck Foreman, dude. When I saw that, I was like, really? Foreman, out of all the people in the world, it was like, I'm gonna watch it. I'm not gonna like it, but I'm gonna watch it. I like the concept though that they did on it, like when they did Venom. But it is what it is. For some people would wish death upon it. Other people were just like, hey, give it a shot. Whatever's. But I can't wait. Shocker was one of my favorite characters. I always liked full-bodied costumes, guys, especially from head to toe, because they always remind me of luchadors. So that's the thing with me. So let's talk more movie stuff, man.
More movie stuff. This one was actually just kind of a notification almost. The comedy troupe behind Super Troopers movie, Broken Lizard, posted this week their first teaser photo confirming that the film has begun on Super Troopers 2. The comedy troupe raised over $4.5 million on crowdfunding platform Indiegogo in April of 2015 to make the movie themselves for the fans because they demanded a sequel. And so they finally started filming. They got production crew together. So it's nice to see that this is actually going to happen. This is not something that's going to be a crowdfunding fiasco. They've taken the money and they're going to put it into a movie. How good it's going to be, only time will tell. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this movie coming back.
Meow, man. Meow's what I'm talking about. I can't wait to see it. If you saw it, oh my God, there were so many in jokes. Honestly, you didn't have to be drunk. You didn't have to be high. But there was just one of those things that was like, oh my God, it's so good. It was so good. A lot of people it's one of those movies that you just quote all the time. It was one joke after another. The storyline was kind of funky, but it wasn't even like it was a matter about the story. It was a matter about just the guys hanging out, guys having a good time. You could watch it from beginning to end. If there was any bonus features and stuff, it was so good. It was so good. Everybody wanted it. Like even when you watch the additional movies that the like Club Dread was, and there's that salmon one. It was like, but it was the same guys, jokes, and everything. Beer Fest was awesome. I don't know if you like Beer Fest. Beer Fest I thought was great. But it was just so ridiculous. It was like I don't know how you could go wrong with it. I still watch it every once in a while, and I'll get the jokes here and there, and it's just a great time overall.
Absolutely. So if you're a fan of it, I see most of the people in the chat room are fans of it. So good for you guys.
Oh, you're talking about shenanigans? Shenanigans? Remember you talked about like, oh, I'm gonna pistol whip him. Anybody says shenanigans again? Oh my God, so good. With all that goofy shit on the wall. I'm sorry. See, you got me going. That's how good of a movie it is.
These are the fan things. The chat room's already blown up about movie quotes and Edgar's feeding off it. And this is just kind of the energy that the fan base for this kind of movie has. It's one of those cult classic movies that didn't do super well at the theater, but to the people it appealed to, they absolutely love it.
Followings, man.
I think that's one of the great things about modern film and television, that you if you just have a dedicated fan base, you don't need to appeal to everybody. If you just have that fan base, you can do well, and you can continue to make the kind of movies that you love and the people you love watching.
It's a total pizza, beer, hanging out with your friends kind of movie. Hell, I kind of want to watch it now. All right, let me change the story off before I get too locked into this. But more comic book / movie related stuff. Joe MacLeod, Mr. Magic Mike himself, Mr. True Blood Wolfman is confirmed to play Deathstroke. Last week, Ben Affleck released footage showing off the villain Deathstroke. Ever since, there has been rampant speculation about where we'll see the character and who will play him. This week on Wall Street Journal has confirmed that Joe MacLeod will indeed play the classic villain. DC Entertainment president and chief creative officer Geoff Johns confirmed that the casting in his first interview discussing his new role overseeing Warner Brothers movies based on DC Comics characters. Johns is currently co-writing the script for the film with Affleck. He didn't say if Deathstroke will appear in Justice League, and he didn't reveal that when exactly the new solo Batman film will be released, but expected to hit sometime in 2018. So it's good. I'm still watching Arrow. So Slade's in that. That's going to be the TV version. It's not going to be the same guy. There is some likenesses and everything. The thing I want with the Arrow version of Slade of Deathstroke, he has a very more charismatic voice. Like, if you guys watch Arrow, give it a shot. It's actually pretty good. I was like, surprised. And once again, not a huge DC fan, but I'll give everything a shot. Very, very charismatic voice, very carried over. So I wasn't sure about Mr. Joe MacLeod carrying over because I don't have to IMDb this because I could go all this by memory. He's actually worked in other comic book movies before. He's actually appeared, if you could remember, and honestly, if you go back and watch it, you probably won't even recognize him. He was actually Flash Thompson in the Tobey Maguire Spiderman movie. So think of it. He could have been Venom.
I think that would have been a much more interesting kind of Venom, to be honest, because he has that bigger body frame, which is what you kind of expect with the Venom character. You don't expect this skinny-looking nobody to be Venom. You expect the big, huge, hulking, like the anti-Spider-Man. where Spider-Man is small and strong, Venom is just obviously over the top, huge and big, as a villain should be, in my opinion. So I think that would have been a better Venom to me. But this character for him, it works perfectly, especially when the mask covers his face. It almost doesn't matter what he looks like or if you recognize him. It's just kind of like a side benefit of a good actor in a good costume, just like the way it was for Deadshot in the Suicide Squad. Will Smith is an amazing actor, and that's what they were paying for. It wasn't just his famous mug, because once he was in the mask, you kind of couldn't tell, and it didn't quite matter as much.
That was the thing also with Joe. Joe has the moves. If you see Magic Mike, he has the dance moves. So it's just a matter of training him to do fight choreography instead of just moving them hips and wiggling that six pack of his and whatnot. I think he's gonna be awesome. I could see him with a sword, see him with some guns and doing some awesome kicks. I don't know how flexible he is if like split wise, but if he could transfer his dancing ability to fight choreography, I think he's going to be pretty badass.
Hey, it works surprisingly well. I mean, just ask Jean-Claude Van Damme. He was originally a ballet dancer, but he transitioned that ability to move and to learn into martial arts, and he became a great action star in the 80s. So maybe this is John Migliano's pathway into it as well. We are going to move on to our next story, though. It's going to be about The Crow. Crow production starts in January of 2017. I thought you'd be more excited about this personally.
I'll let you read before I put my 2 cents.
Okay. 3 weeks ago, it was reported that Jason Momoa was in talks to start in The Crow, which is being directed by Corin Hardy. According to the Wrap, not only is Momoa confirmed to star in the movie, but will start work on it as soon as he finishes shooting Justice League footage in January of 2017. I think Jason Momoa is fine for the role. His facial features, his attitude are definitely badass enough for The Crow. Now, this isn't, according to the producers, it's not a reboot of the movie. This is going to be an original storyline based on the original comic series. It's not going to be a scene-for-scene reboot of the original Crow movie, so it's hopefully going to be an original storyline. And I'm kind of excited to see this character come back.
Okay. Here's my 2 cents. I don't want him to play the Eric Draven character. That's my biggest thing. Don't play Eric Draven. His body, his size, and everything. He'd be awesome as a villain. As a villain, he'd be great. As for if he's gonna play a Crow character, if you're a fan like me, there's actually multiple Crow franchises where it's been different storylines. There've been guy crows, girl crows, crows from the past, crows from like post-apocalyptic future, different kinds of crows in general. So I could see him saying an alternative storyline, especially using his heritage, being a Samoan. I think it would be great. Or I think it's not Samoan. I think it's like Hawaiian. I'm sorry. Well, Islander. Let's go Islander. That way I don't offend everybody. But I think it would be awesome that way. And it doesn't have to necessarily be like the Crow at the beach, but hell, if they could pull it off, they'll be awesome. It'd be insane. But Jason Momoa, nothing against the guy. He's awesome. I think he's going to be great in Aquaman. I think he's going to be great in everything else that he does. But playing the Eric Draven character specifically, I think it's more of a turn off, and this is me being a geek fan loyalist to the characters of was, because the Crow, the Eric Draven character, he's a rock star, but he was also like one of those like really thin bodies, skinny. He was almost like the borderline glam rock 80s punk kind of style character. So I wish they would have somebody else instead of him, but that's just me. That's just coming from me.
Okay, so your opinion is almost sounds like exclusively based on body type issues with the guy. Like, he doesn't look physically like the Crow that's in your mind or from the comics. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
His body type, the way he's going to carry the persona, the character, like if you did put aside profile by profile, don't get me wrong, when he has his long hair and stuff like that, it's pretty much who he played. He played was that him? Yeah, he played Conan. It's pretty much Conan because he has the long hair and everything with the Harley Quinn style makeup. That's pretty much it is. It's just I don't know how he's gonna carry himself. I'm don't get me wrong. If he starts learning guitar, I don't know if he has to actually work out anymore because he's already once again has the body. But I would see him just because of his mass, yes, because of his body type, him being more of the villain than being the lead. Because the lead of the Crows, I'm sorry, I keep going on this. He's always been the underdog. He's always been the smaller, skinnier guy that has to go up to these big dudes and try to take them out.
Okay, no, that's a fair assessment. I understand that this is a very special character to you, and so you want to see it done right, and you have these preconceived motion ideas in your head based upon film and comic influences, and that's totally valid. That's very common within the geek community. Me personally, I'm not nearly as attached to the character, which is why I'm more than willing to see this type of change in it. But I'm like, give it a let's wait till some test footage comes out
Oh
at
yeah.
least, or we see a trailer before we start, throwing this dude under the bus, because he's been a pretty decent actor so far, and he's not typecast in any single role. If you were familiar with him from Game of Thrones, that's a different character than Aquaman is, and he seems to be doing both perfectly well. So I'm like, give him a chance.
Oh yeah.
I'll be more than happy to rail against this movie
Seriously, he's
if it comes out and it's horrible and he's just not doing it right, or the director's not doing it. But as far as how the film's tone goes, that has very little to do with the actor himself. That's the director. That's going to be the cinematographer. That's going to be their budget on the film. That's going to be the writers who craft and create the script. This movie does not, live or die based upon this single one actor. There's a whole slew of people that have to get it right, and I think that's a good thing, because there's no one point of failure for this movie, as long as they're given the creative freedom to make the kind of movie that fans are going to love.
Oh yeah, to me he's just a powerhouse. He's just huge. It's kind of like seeing it like. I'm not. This is going to be over exaggerating, but that's like making Arnold Schwarzenegger the Crow. You put on the makeup and he's a big, huge buff guy that's just going to be taking out people. It's not realistic, because once again, in my eyes and the way it's viewed, the Crow is always the underdog.
I hear you, and I can't say either one way or the other. I don't know it. I think the Conan comparison is slightly different, because Arnold has other issues besides acting. He's not a great actor. He's an okay actor now, but in his early career he had English issues, which kind of typecast him into certain roles. Jason Momoa speaks perfectly great English. He's, as far as I'm concerned, a really decent actor. I haven't seen him do anything super amazing, but I haven't seen him tank anything either. So I'm willing to give him the benefit out. And Leia and Arminta just joined us in the chat room. Hey,
Hello.
how's it going? Just want to give you a quick shout out. But that's kind of it for the show right now, folks. Thank you very much for listening and watching to us kind of geek out about all this crazy stuff. We love talking about this geeky stuff with you guys, which is why we do it every single week. And if you like the podcast and want to help support us, where can you do it?
Do it at geekbytespodcast.com/support.
Absolutely. And again, thank you very much for listening and watching, everybody, and taking the time to hang out with us as we talk about all this geeky stuff. Everyone in the chat room, thanks. Super awesome for chatting with us and everything, dudes and ladies. For Geek Bytes Podcast, though, I am Ramon Mejia.
I'm Edgar Acosta.
And remember, folks, to go geek out about something.